Welcome to Livid Comics Lair. Tonight's guest, we have Batty and Richard Zerga of Legend Studio. So we're going back into the indie comics tonight, folks. So please welcome our friends, Richard and Batty Zerga. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Good. Like that, we're live again on Friday night. So here we go. And Ruggiero is rogue tonight, but he is watching. So there is his first comment. So we can talk and he can communicate via comments. So that's good. He had some fatherly duties to do. That sometimes does happen. So no problem.
Happens. So I hide in my basement so my kids can't find me. That's where I am right now. So.
I got a powerful lock on this door. It was nuts, man. I'm in a bedroom, but when I bought this house, I had like a house like brick metal lock on it. I don't know what was kept in this room, but I can only imagine. Yeah. So it works out well to keep the kids out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, just a reminder. So we are now, we never really say this at the top of the show, but we are now live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So we're pretty much everywhere at this point. You can't get enough of us. So
if you can't find us, then it means you don't want to. At this point. Yeah. That's it. So welcome to the show, guys. Happy to have you on tonight.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah. We're excited to do this. We had your book at our con, so I'm going to let John kind of talk about that a little bit and how he decided to pick that out and how the show went and everything. So we brought it over to Granite State Comic Con with us and was on our table. So happy to support you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we all got connected here. So we put it out there in a lot of these Facebook groups, right, that we wanted to get exposure for other indie creators on the East Coast that didn't have that exposure without making them have to come out here to do so, right? So so we asked for submissions, people that would sell wholesale, and you guys shared your stuff, and the cover alone kind of sold me, without even seeing the inside of it. But it fit the theme of what we wanted. We're a horror comic company, so I saw it and I knew right away that was one of the titles we were going to want on our table. So obviously I'll let you guys explain the whole concept of the series and what it is, so I don't butcher it. But yeah, that was fun. I kept a copy for myself too, so just so you guys know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Basically, it started, I think 2013.
Yeah, sure.
It's been a minute, and I grew up reading a lot of the EC comics, watching the old Hammer horror films and Universal, and some of my favorites from American International that are less than B movies, but I really enjoy. And in 2005, my oldest daughter, for a senior project, wanted to create a manga. And so we all chipped in, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun. When I was in school, it was all fine art. You could not draw comic art. It was, poo-pooed upon. So it was my first chance, and Batty and I just went with it. And so EC Comics was a huge innovator. So that's why we do the horror with the 2 short stories in each episode, or in each issue. Yeah, in each issue.
You view it like a TV show in your head, right? So,
yeah. That's how I see it. Yeah. But we don't do, I don't want to say ever, but up to this point, there hasn't been a lot of gore. There hasn't been, blood porn.
No, there's a little bit, but it's not like a Saw film or Hostel. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the gore porn, as I call it, right?
Yeah. But definitely want to keep more of the horror aspect, which is kind of hard to do when it's, in a comic book. You don't get the jump scares. You try to build the tension. And that's why I read so much of EC Comics, is because they did it extremely well.
Yeah, they
did. My word bubbles that I use are similar to Graham Ingles that he did, and that's the wavy, like shocked, scared word bubbles. And I just thought that was fantastic. So I took that from Ghastly.
You're speaking Joel's language, though. Yeah,
I'm looking at my wall. I'm looking at my wall. I got Haunt of Fear 17 is right here. I'll pull it down. Let me grab a thing. Every episode I've been pulling this thing out. Let's just keep it. Here you go. Right. So.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
There it is. That's my roommate. Keeps me company in the studio here. So.
That's Ghastly. Yep.
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
That's probably, in my opinion, that is the nicest horror cover ever done in the history of horror comics. That one was the pinnacle, in my opinion. Haunt of Fear 17 just blows everything else away. I got the whole wall full of stuff over here. I got weird fantasy, Tales from the Crypt, and then I even, what I also have that you probably would dig is I have a Johnny Craig's file copy of Doorway to Nightmare, also that came from his estate. So that's on the wall too.
That came from his estate?
Yeah, and it's got a certificate of authenticity and stuff. So, yeah, I'm a little bit of an EC geek out guy. So,
oh my
good to have you on board. We're off to a good start. So, yeah.
Oh, when I was reading the book, I mean, you can just see the inspiration that the EC had on it too. So, that's super cool. And to each their own, right? But I would agree. You don't need a ton of gore to be scary. Sometimes it almost takes away from it, but use the blood when you need it, and then it adds power to it almost, right? Like it's
absolutely.
So you don't see too much of that in our stuff. I mean, we've only created 2 books so far, but that's not really in the agenda either. So I would agree. As far as like the jump scares, like
Chihawk says you like terrible horror movies.
Well, he admitted below B. So well, Joel tried to Joel tried to convince Rogerio and I to watch Lamageddon the other day, or a couple weeks ago. So
did I succeed?
Not yet. Not yet.
Gotta double down my efforts. Yeah. And then the follow-up sequel, Alpacalypse, right? So
oh God.
Yeah.
That name's come up probably 5 times on the show, and I still laugh every time.
It's a drinking game at this point. Like if you don't say Lamageddon or Alpacalypse, you can't drink your beer during the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime now, so you can check out Lamageddon. And I reached out to that director to get him on here, but I haven't heard back yet. So I will.
Probably making he's doing the trilogy, man. He's busy.
Yeah.
He's like, these are big fun of me.
Put sheep in there somehow. I don't know wordplay for sheep. I leave it to you linguists to come up with that stuff.
No. I couldn't do it on the spot, but I'm sure I could come up with something there. But Roger says Lamageddon is my limit.
We take you there. That's what we do. So.
I mean, he's got his son there tonight. That sounds like a father-dad movie or father-son movie if I've ever heard one. So might as well pop that on.
He won't forget it. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah. Well, so you kind of told a little bit of the background. So you got started because your daughter had the project there, the manga book there. How does the work distribution work for you guys when you're creating a comic book? Because it's kind of a unique dynamic there that you guys got. It's kind of cool.
Originally it started off. I didn't draw women. My women came out looking like Willem Dafoe. So I didn't draw women. They were horrible. So Betty did all the women. Plus she did her own title, Kitty and Bats. And so when it came time for colors, Batty's also a lot faster on Photoshop than I am. So I sent Batty the files and she went and did everything. But this issue coming up, issue 5, it's the first time Batty has put Kitty and Bats in a Taffy T Clown title.
Yeah.
So there's 2 different stories. I've done all the work on mine. Batty's done all the work on that title, and
he did the art for all the covers, and then I did the color.
Yeah.
That's
That's
so
pretty
cool.
much how it's broken up. Anytime there's color, I jump in, and then up until recently, you did most of the background art, but then once I switched to only digital, I started doing my own backgrounds.
Yeah, it's got to be super handy having both you guys there together, working on it together. Because see, a lot of projects now are obviously very remote, and like for like our situation, we have Rogério in Brazil even. So what is that dynamic like? Do you find it beneficial being in close proximity to each other, or does it sometimes cause creative friction, or what's that look like?
It's a lot of fun.
It's both. It's better now that I actually moved out of the studio. Like my desk is actually on our kitchen table. And so whenever he wants a break, now he doesn't sit behind me and stare at my screen while I'm trying to work, which constantly got on my nerves. I guess after that, everything else is fine. That was the only thing that always got on my nerves.
Did she do the colors? Wait, no, try a different hue.
Oh, you missed that spot.
No,
Like,
yeah.
shut the fuck up.
And I'll go back to the way it was. It was fine.
Yeah, no.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's like, even like on the writing side, like I wouldn't want to show anyone my first draft, especially while I'm in the middle of typing it,
Oh,
so
I
I can imagine someone like looking over my shoulder while I'm trying to draw from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was annoying for sure. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's pretty good. If I ever get stuck on doing the colors of the line work or the inking for his stuff, I just call him over. I'm like, what is this line? What does this go to?
Oh, yeah.
That's happened quite a few times.
My inspiration
Yeah, I
was
was getting
Bernie
concerned
Wrightson.
about that. Yeah, if I'm sharing a project with somebody, I'm like, I hope they can translate what the hell this means right here. Like, where does it go? Is that part of the arm? Is that a shirt? Like, I don't know. So yeah, it's something I think about. I mean, it's a real thing.
Mhm.
Almost every page.
Typically it comes in when like a figure is too close to the background or any part of a car. Cars are not my strong suit, even when it's just inking. So unless it's like heavy blacks, I don't know what I'm looking at because I don't really know.
When in doubt, black it out. Right? That's what they say. Right?
Yeah.
When in doubt, black it out.
You don't need this line work.
Yep. Black it right out. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was issue
did,
4? Oh,
My new
sorry,
catchphrase now: when in doubt, block it out.
Strong move.
sorry, Joe. What were you gonna say there? I didn't. Mean
I was just gonna say, when I, talking about work looking like, kind of crappy in the process is, I did a lot of oil painting, and that's always looks like hell when you first start because it's just you're just getting the shit up on there. And always my wife comes in and it's like, oh, the eyeballs are off or like the mouth is broken. I'm like, I know, like I'm just putting an undertone on, it's layered out, so just trust me. She's like, I know, like, yeah. So it's funny how that works. Yeah. Always the same way. Yeah.
Oh yeah. My wife did that with my pencil drawing sometimes. Like she would see it on the kitchen table and she would be like, something seems slightly off, Mike. I'm not done yet. Just I got it. If I can't figure it out, I'll ask. Actually, that's how Joe and I got into doing comics. Was we worked together at a day job. He obviously had the art career going on. I was just getting back into drawing for the first time in years, and I used to text him. I don't know how annoying it was, but I used to text him all the time, like in progress drawing, saying like, "What's off here?" And he'd be like, "Oh, you got to move the eye a centimeter up," or like, but yeah.
Yeah, it must be weird. It must be an interesting thing for non-artistic people to watch the process happen and try to understand what is happening, right? Because it does look like,
Oh, yeah.
You don't just hit it right off the jump. It's sketching to inking to coloring to a final project. So it's got to be a trip for those people who have zero experience with the process. It's something that you don't really think about till you think about it. It's kind of odd. So for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that work out with Rogério?
Last time yeah.
Oh my god, I did that once. You see the comment?
Oh, I see. I can put that back up there.
Yeah.
She-Hawk was asking. You guys would know better than me with the old school stuff here, but I don't know this story he's referring to.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah.
Only inker I remember off the top of my head, Wally Woods. I don't think it would have been him. I know Wally used to go in, Wallace Woods from EC Comics used to go in and clean up a lot of Kirby's anatomy and ink a lot of his stuff. I don't think it was him that would have deleted.
I don't think so. He's too powerful. He's too powerful. Have you guys got the? Have you seen the IDW Artist Edition books?
Oh yeah, I've got a few of them back here.
Yeah, they're like a tome, right? You need to you have a special place to look at it in the house.
Bernie Wrightson's Muck Monster I've got over there. That one's just
it's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You have how many of those do you have, Joel? You got like 3 or 4, don't you?
5.
But you got some of the X-Men ones too. Yeah.
The covers is coming too. That's my birthday present to myself. The new EC covers is out too. So they have all the covers thing. I said it before. It's incredible that that Gaines, the family, kept all of that art, man. That it just didn't find the bin. That they have full issues in there. It's not just we got a couple pages. It's the entire issue. That, I mean, what are we talking? 60, 70 years old at this point that they kept that stuff around so they can reproduce, and it's in good shape. It's not the mice got to it, water damage, fire.
It's wild.
Incredible that they kept all that stuff. There you go. Chi-Hawk's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine keeping stuff that old in that great a shape. I mean, I told you I went back to my dad's house a couple summers ago and grabbed all my old comics. When I say old, they're from the 80s. They're not 50s and 60s stuff, and those things are in terrible condition. If I was ever to get them graded, they probably would just come back with a poop emoji. I don't think they would even put a number on it.
NG.
Yeah. But
they pay you money. They'd be like, "Sorry, here's a couple bucks." Or
man, what did you do to these things? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah. I was going to ask. So it's issue 4 that we had at our con. So were you saying, was that done digitally? I would have thought that was done analog, just from looking at the art on it, just the style of it.
The art was drawn by hand.
Oh, okay.
It was all the solid blacks and everything that was digital.
Oh, okay.
Scan it, and then Patty flattens it, gets it all set up for print.
Nice.
And then, the colors on the cover.
Yeah, most of the time he doesn't ink his own work.
No.
It takes too long.
Yeah, no, there's no way I'm inking my lines.
That's why
the problem comes in.
Yeah. I can't even. It's like when we had, we had Joe Bennett on way back when, and we were talking about how his inkers must take, I don't even know how long it would take to ink a page of his, all of the pencil lines, the detail. I can't even imagine. So, but that's really cool that, you guys split it that way. I mean, I feel bad with Joel and I, when we were working on Yule, I wrote the script and pretty much everything else was on his shoulders. So, so
could be good though. I got nobody to edit me. Really.
That's true. I mean, I feel at the very least I can teach myself to do lettering. I mean, I got to take some of the workload off the plate there, but I just I draw really well when I have a reference that I'm mimicking, copying. I do really well with that. But if I have to do sequential art and off the top of my head, even if these guys are like, well, you can still use references. I'm like, yeah, but it's still I have to legit mirror what I'm looking at. I can't do anything creative beyond that. It's very mediocre if I do that. So, yeah.
No, I've tried going, because I'll have the images in my head. For some reason, they get lost on the way to my hand. I have to have references in front of me. And that's the hardest. I mean, everything from the backgrounds to the facial expressions, I have to have references. And I've been drawing almost every day since 2005.
Yeah, that's it.
And I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, even
the image in my head is always 20 times cooler than what I actually get. Right? So
yeah,
right? Yeah, always will be that way. It's just like, it's just,
yeah. Yeah, my biggest issue is drawing any sort of angles. All of my drawings when I was drawing superheroes as a kid were straight on. There was no cool action poses.
No foreshortening, like doing.
Yeah, that was not happening. At least not off my imagination. So I envy those that can just do that. So.
I mean, that's fair. Foreshortening is hard. It is real difficult to get that right.
Yeah, I would agree to that. So, you guys have issue 5 of the Taffy series coming out. Is a couple days before Halloween, right?
It's actually going to start shipping probably Thursday. This coming
Thursday.
Thursday.
Geez. Okay. So, I thought I saw the 28th. Yeah, sorry. So that's even closer then. That's awesome. Which I'll share the website here in a minute too. But
I was gonna say we'll take us through some visuals here in a minute. Yeah. Get some of those pulled up.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the book here before I pull that up? Give anyone a little idea of what to expect
for issue 5?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The one thing, and I was the characters that we're using to host. Some of them were design work we did for Chuck Jarman, and he owned a company called Bump of the Night Effects, and he's done work for Rob Zombie, the Chiodo Brothers, Wednesday 13, George Romero, Tom, and we decided, since we did the work, it would be fun to have them narrate the stories. With the narration, aside from Taffy, we gave them accents to help build up their personality. Demon Seed has a southern accent. Issue 5, we introduced Sir Ghastly Graves. We were going to do a Cockney accent, and it just didn't come out right. So he actually is going to have a German accent. And with this one, it's going to be his first story. In fact, we have the original art for the cover right here. He's coming out of the ground.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's the cover there, the original art. And nice. Thank you very much. He's going to be telling the tale. It's endearing old Mr. Ambrosini. And Mr. Ambrosini is a caretaker at a local cemetery. It just so happens it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And gentleman shows up to pay respects because his bride of 3 years has died. And a few things happen. And the last page of that story is a little homage piece I did to Norman Rockwell. So it's going to be a very interesting splash page for the end of that story. And then this is also the first one that Batty has put in with her characters, Kitty and Bats, into this story.
Yeah, and it's called the Muffin Man, and it's basically an extension of the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, because there was like a creepypasta of like there was an actual Muffin Man and he killed children, so it's basically just a spin on that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But he brought up the accent thing because we wrote it in an accent. Like it's actually scripted as an accent. So if it can be kind of hard to read on certain spots because it's a pretty heavy accent, but that was why he brought that up, because it's actually written in an accent.
That's cool though. I love it when like nursery rhymes or fairy tales get turned upside down. I did a master class that Neil Gaiman taught, and he is the one that like just got it in my head thinking that way, where he said, I want you to take, like, he gave an assignment. He's like, I want you to take any fairy tale or nursery rhyme and just move it around, try to tell it in a different way that no one's thought of. So he gave an example of Snow White, and he was talking about how that really could be considered a horror story when you think of it. Some guys coming up and kissing this dead girl, or this girl that's like unconscious, and then but he was talking about how you could flip it and say that she was asleep because someone was protecting the village or the area from her. They had her in this spell because she was so dangerous and they didn't want her awakened. And like, he just was giving examples just off the top of his head, like different ways you could spin it. And that definitely, it got my brain just like going 100 miles an hour trying to think of some of the stories that I saw as a kid. So that's really cool that you did that there.
That's really fun, especially when it's done really well.
Yeah.
And then she matched a lot of her art style, which is nowhere near mine, but so it would fit the comic. She actually, Betty actually did a lot more of the hatch work, the line work. It actually came out pretty fantastic. So this coming week, we're going to start showing some of the panels to get ready for the release coming up the following week.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
For sure.
Do you want to pull it up, John? Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Take a look.
I got it.
There we go. Awesome. I'll go full screen here. Take a look. There we go.
Yeah, so you've got Kitty and Bats up there at the header, and the first 3 Taffy issues.
I actually haven't seen the covers to the first 3 of these. You guys kill it with the covers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first one we did, we really wanted to make it pop. The first story was called Asylum, and I couldn't think of anything better than Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind album cover, and where Eddie, their mascot, is in the straitjacket, and I figured Taffy would be great.
Yeah, is this something I could see full to expand the covers?
Maybe hit that little arrow. Does it hit that little arrow in the center? Don't hit the one.
Off to the side, I want to say we don't have issues 1, 2, and 3 anymore. They've been out of print.
Oh, okay.
15.
Gotcha. This is the cover right here that we had at our con.
Yep.
So this is what you just held up, the original art. So this is the new one.
Correct.
It's up for pre-order now. That's a really cool cover.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that one was fun.
Yeah. Really cool.
That's great.
I see Bubba Patrol, Chi-Hawk's creation on here.
Yeah,
he was actually, he was one of our first guests on the show. We had him on to promote Bubba Patrol, and I noticed, was it in the back of his book or in the back of your book? I saw the other cover, or maybe it was both. I don't recall, but.
Oh yes, in his issue 4, we have an ad in there.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I caught that there. That was yep. So what's Goldilocks and Zombieland about? That sounds pretty cool too. They're right along the line of what we were just saying there with the fairy tale stuff.
Well, it was we hooked up with a gentleman named Jeff Hughes out of Texas. Unfortunately, he passed away earlier this year.
Oh no.
Back in 2015, which is the reason we stopped Taffy, was he came up with this concept: what would happen in storybook land if there was a zombie outbreak? And so basically, Goldilocks gets together with the Woodsman, Little Bo Peep, Rapunzel,
Mary Lamb, Jackie Bean.
Yeah. And they go through all the different storybooks, basically the little cities and the towns of the storybooks, and they try to find out and stop who's ever doing it, because they have this guild led by Mother Goose. If they can't stop it, they're going to launch this bomb that's going to destroy this particular storybook. This was storybook 2012, and there's thousands of other storybooks. It's just this particular storybook would be destroyed.
Almost like a multiverse. Like it's just its own
exactly.
section. Yeah.
And so the first one came out in 2015. We did 7 issues. 6. I'm sorry, 6 issues. We're picking up. We had to reprint issue 4. That's going to be picked up next week. So we'll have available 1 through 6 again. But he wanted us to get them out a lot faster. He wanted, and it was basically a collaboration, was the whole thing. And because Batty works and I've got a part-time gig and do a lot of commission work, there's no way. Yeah. So we ended up parting ways on that project. And then, he had a heart attack, had 6 stents put in, and he ended up passing in March, I think it was.
Oh man. Yes. Well, that's unfortunate. Did you guys? Well, I don't know how it works with moving forward or whatever, but have you guys ever considered, or have you done a trade print of that, all of them together in a graphic novel? Or
we've actually talked about it quite a bit with Jeff. The thing is, we took up the project because it was only supposed to be 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah.
He rewrote it and it became 17.
Wow.
And everything that we were doing, we had to put kind of on the back burner. And I really wanted to get back onto Taffy. Batty wanted to get back on Kitty and Bats. So he started talking about the deadlines and commitment, and it just fell apart.
Yeah. Well,
putting it in a graphic novel.
Well, it'd be 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a complete story.
No. But he was the writer for it, and I don't think we would end up continuing it. So we would end up stopping at 6, which is where we're at now, and then probably just stay with the single issues. I don't think it would be worth doing a trade for 6 issues when it can't be completed.
Well, that's true, I guess. When you think of trade, you think of like a complete, beginning to end story arc. So
so that makes sense. 36 volume or something.
Right. Yeah, like Walking Dead Volume 1. That's not the end of the story. Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate, but yeah, those books look super cool. Definitely have to check those out. So is this original drawing stuff up there on the site?
Correct. Those are all the original art pages. So what we did is we did what's called a non-Kickstarter Kickstarter.
I saw that.
Yeah. It took us a while to come up with that one. But what we did was we did an Indiegogo once for a Kickstarter. Oh gosh, almost 10 years ago. And it didn't get funded. And we decided that if we ever did another one, we're going to do it completely on our own. Make sure that we're able to get everything in hand, so when the orders come in, we can start shipping. And then that's what it is. So we're actually, with what we're doing, we're paying everything out of pocket with the intent of selling and making our money on the back end.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, it's a lot of work too to deal with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and then to have it not hit the goal. Let's, like, even if you were close, like at least I know Indiegogo, you don't have to hit the target there. So like if you got X amount of dollars, you could make up the difference out of pocket. But for Kickstarter, it's like you got to hit that mark or you don't get a penny of it, and then that can be really tough, especially if you're setting a fairly high goal, because there's a lot of money going into it and you want to make sure you're making that back. But
absolutely. So with the first one that we did, issue 4, we met our goal and exceeded it, because we look at just basically what the printing is and the ordering. We don't look at all the manpower we put in leading up to it, just what the printing and ordering is. And we exceeded that. And I want to say right now, we've already, with pre-orders, we've gone just over what we've spent already. So, you know, it's nice that we give everybody the opportunity afterwards. They can order it and it's in hand and they get it. We do priority shipping in the US, so within 4 days they have everything. But yeah, we decided to finance everything on our own and then make money on the back end.
That's great. Are you guys just straight online at this point, or have you gone out to any shops to try to get your book in stores locally or nationally?
We've actually had more success getting them in comic book stores outside of California. And I don't know if that's because there's just so many indie artists in such a, you know, all these metropolitan areas that, you know, a lot of these shops out here, because of the rent for the locations, it's so darn expensive. I mean, some people have, you know, a 1,200 square foot shop. We've seen some with 800 square feet, and they just, you know, hey, we don't have the room. I get it. You know, if you don't have room, you're going to have to do what you can to make money. There's your Marvel, DC, and your Image stuff. You know, maybe some savers with indies, but then you're back with, well, they can't order it if they don't know we're out there.
Right.
So it's a catch-22 for sure. But
I wonder if they could. Could do some type of like a subscription dropship fulfillment through indies too, right? So maybe they have other clients that come in, customers that come in that buy Marvel, DC, Image stuff, but then they have a list that they could choose from, and they don't even have to touch it. You just they let guys just drop ship it out of your studio there and send it over to them. That could be
one of the things that we did 2 Halloweens ago, I think it was. We did our own little preview Halloween Comic Fest, and it was the first couple of pages of Goldilocks from 1, 2, and 3, and then the first 2 pages from Wanted Red Writing, and that helped a lot. But we just haven't had time to put another sample together, and then that's what we'd like to do is just send them out. We had planned on hitting a few shops in Arizona while we were down there, and a couple of shops that said they'd like to talk with us. Well, it's not centrally located anything. We were in Tucson, and they were 2.5 hours away in Phoenix. Oh no.
We didn't realize that until we were actually in the hotel room.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, let's hit up the shops tomorrow. Oh, they're in Phoenix. Never mind.
Yeah.
So we did end up hitting one in
Tucson.
In Tucson, yeah.
Yeah, he picked up everything. So it's been little bits and pieces. Sometimes we'll be in 10 shops at once, and then other times 2. It's just been a roller coaster. And that's the other thing with Jeff. He had the ability to reach out and talk to a lot of people that were shop owners. It's just been really hard with us getting the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully going into next year, I can scale back. I work part-time. I can scale back my hours a little bit more because I'm on disability. I damaged my spinal cord 12 years ago. And so I'm on disability. I can only work X amount of hours. With the minimum wage going up, I can scale back my hours again. So that would give me more time. And that's what I want to do a little sample preview, send it out and see if we can do drop ship orders for savers.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan there. Yeah, that's the dream on our end, is, there's no lack of ideas. There's no lack of, stories and series that we want to put out there. It's the time, like we have the day job still. And,
that's hard. And families, you guys have kids that are younger.
I have 2 kids. He has 3 kids. And our creative time, I don't think it would change for Joel either way, even if he didn't have kids. But our creative time is pretty much 9 p.m. to 1, 2 in the morning. We're up. But, the tough part is waking up at 6 a.m. when your kids could care less what time you went to bed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loads of coffee. Loads of coffee. Power.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
The other one's married, has their home, and
they say the time goes fast, but sometimes I don't know.
Oh man, my 7-year-old son, he can handle himself in the morning. He'll just come downstairs and grab an unhealthy breakfast if we're not up, which he'll find something in the cupboard. I'll come down and make, why are you eating crackers at 6 a.m.? But my daughter's 3.
Like,
Right. My daughter's 3 and she doesn't have a crib anymore, and you just hear her little thumper feet coming into our bedroom, and I'm like, ugh, like, here, all right, she won't go down by herself. I wouldn't want her to. She wouldn't even know what to do. So, but someday, we'll have more time to put into it, and we talk all the time about how the day job is there to basically. We said this on the last show. It was Doug Wagner, who works for Image. He was on our show, and he said the day job's just a tool to get you through to your real job, which is creating comics. So, So, I always make this joke, but I really have no idea if anyone at my day job or my manager watches this. So I don't plan on leaving my job anytime soon. But
should I make that a banner at the bottom?
Just
to make sure. John plans on staying.
Hard, if you do it full time, you start losing your benefits. You have inconsistent money coming in. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, my wife has worked in the hospital industry since 1990, so it's something we've never had to worry about. But for us, coming into October, end of December, it's huge for us. But come January, February, March, and April, it's tumbleweeds and crickets.
Yeah.
Dead zone.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
Somebody trying to do it full time. I know a few of the guys around here that work for Marvel, Image, and DC. Man, the stories they tell, is you're still an higher artist. You don't have benefits. You don't have.
Right. You don't have guaranteed pay for the work you do.
Yeah, I talked with Joe Weems as another guy that we talked to. I think he's moving. I think they're heading to Colorado, but they would actually do work and submit it, and hey, we like it, or hey, you need to edit it, or we don't want it, and you don't get paid. You don't get paid until the orders start coming in and everything's shipped. Oh gosh, no.
I think Campbell had a story like that too, with one of his Spider-Man issues.
Yeah.
You're like, never mind, we're not gonna do it.
He did a whole issue.
Doesn't get paid. Like, no, I don't think so.
Did all the work, then they decide not to use the issue, and they're like, sorry. Yeah.
So he's just like, this was years ago, and he was like, well, screw them, I'm just gonna sell the work. So he was selling off the pages when he wasn't supposed to. And it's like, you guys didn't pay him, so screw off.
They're so strict about that stuff. It's crazy. They won't even, we were just talking about this on our last show too, I think, where they won't even let their artists get involved in like the NFT space, and technically they're not even really, they're just freelance, right? Like they're not employees. So the fact that they can't try to make money on the side is tough. And then you see the stories about, the Marvel universe, the movies, how those storylines, the people that created them in the comics, that they got paid like $5,000 from Marvel Studios when these movies made billions of dollars. It's tough, but it's I forget which guest we had on that said this, but it's more about the recognition when you say, hey, I did work for Marvel or DC. It's then you're taken serious as soon as you say that. But it's rare unless you're Scott Snyder or some other big name that ends up just crushing it. And I mean, they're not hurting for money, but Yeah. So I think that's an important thing for a lot of people that are getting into it if they think they're getting into it for money to think about, right? Yeah. There's got to be passion behind it too. It's not, sure, maybe at some point you could get to the point where you could do it as a living, and make decent money doing it. But, if you come into it just expecting that, and, the problem with a lot of, I'm technically a Gen X kid, but I'm on the side of that doesn't, am I Gen X? Wow. I don't even know. I'm 36.
Oh no, you're not a Gen X.
No.
I think you're a millennial.
I meant millennial. Yeah. I meant millennial. Sorry, guys. I'm tired. I meant millennial. Yeah. So like you see a lot of millennials that are just, they don't hit it big in whatever they're doing, and they just want to quit, And even in our day job, I worked with a guy that went for a promotion after being there for less than a year, didn't get the job, and he quit the company. And it's like, man, I've been here almost 15 years, like, and I'm in the same job as you. You need to understand that you're pretty lucky. But so anyways, that was a rambling story to say, anyone getting into the industry, like, you better stop at the door before you walk in, and understand that you're not going to be getting rich anytime soon off it. So
yeah, no, when we were doing conventions around here, we ended up meeting a lot of people, and a lot of folks in Artist Alley that would create their comic and wouldn't be at their booth, wouldn't be talking to people. They'd be drawing and doing commissions, and they're not there. And then it's, hey, I'm not making any money doing this. I don't want, and you're going to have to take it and look at it as a career. If you don't look at, as a business, if you don't look at it as a business and just look at it as something that you're passionate about, you're barking up the wrong tree. There's only a few people out there that we've met since 2005 that are still doing this. Everybody else, they throw in the towel for that reason. They wanted their first comic was going to be the one that, it's going to be on Netflix, it's going to be on the big screen, and they sell 10 copies. Oh man, I can't believe what's wrong with these people. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I think our first convention,
we
didn't sell anything. Yeah, we didn't sell squat.
It was crap. I hated it so much. Yeah. I hated the first couple conventions we did. Oh my God, what a nightmare.
Because one of the things we didn't want to do was do fan art. Yeah. We wanted to create our characters and get them out there. And we were noticing that everybody else except us had fan art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we started doing fan art, and then comics started getting passed over. Mm-hmm. So it's gotten to the point now, unless we get a commission, there's no fan art. Everything's going to be basically, our characters, and we'll just keep going. If it sells, great. If it doesn't, I get another piece of paper and draw another one.
Yeah. But it's been 12 years of trial and error.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. There's no formula. It's not like you can, comic creating for dummies book at Barnes and Noble.
Our first comic was printed at Kinko's.
Yeah. We had to staple it ourselves.
Yeah, those are great. I love that stuff. Yeah.
Didn't fit into a bag and board either.
No.
It was
bad.
It was bad.
Maybe you should roll it up, stick it in there.
I hope you guys still have copies of those.
No.
Oh, really? Oh
no.
Man.
They went into the
recycling bin. Yeah.
No, we didn't burn those?
No, some of them we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's bad.
Because a lot of people say you should always keep some of your older work.
No, thank you.
To look back and go, wow, I came from here to here. I know what it was like back then. I don't need to look at it anymore.
Also, we thankfully have Facebook popping up every now and then. It's like, hey, remember when you did this? It's like, oh,
yeah.
Good morning. Remember this horrible thing you did? Like, oh
yeah. Like
my first comics were, getting my mother to sneak into her office when I was like probably 7 or 8, 9 years old at school she worked for the state, going into the state copy machine to make copies of comic books that I could sell to kids in the grade school. So she's doing it secretly when her boss is walking by.
That's awesome.
So the state of New Hampshire paid for my first comic printing, I guess.
Yeah. Who was your first publisher? The state of New Hampshire. Yeah.
Hopefully, I give enough taxes anyway. So
I was just about to say, hopefully they're not watching, because you might get some nice check bill.
Get the bill next week.
They're like, wait, what was this?
That's what you did. You just did what you had to do. It was great. It was the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah. Talking about the cons, like, I might do a remark or stinger on a book, but I really don't want to sit there and draw all weekend. I do it all week. And
right.
Like my book is my draw. Here, this is the book I did. Like, you're getting the art. Like, we might have some originals with us or things like that, but I'd rather get to know my audience and engage with them. They can learn more about me, like that kind of thing. Like, you can see
absolutely. You've got to engage, because if they're walking through Artist Alley, they're going to see person next to you, this person next to you, the person across from you. Something's going to have to catch your attention. And if you're sitting there drawing, or because you get a lot of people that are introverts and they don't talk to people. What the hell are you doing at a convention then? You've got to interact with people. You're the salesperson. I mean, you've got to look at this as a business. You've got to talk to that person and go, this is what it's about. I think you're going to like it. Give it a shot. Take a look. And, 10 copies and I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. We were trying to be thinking outside the box, we had Livid Comics balloons that we were handing out to all the kids. So I was out there like a used car salesman handing balloons out to all the kids, and
absolutely,
we infested that place with Livid Comics balloons. Like, you could, if you looked up, you just see some floating up to the rafters, but you just would see kids. Like, a mom would be like, "Oh yeah, this is great. I'll tie it around his wrist, and if he gets lost, I'll know where he is." And I'm like, "No, you won't, because every kid in here has one." But yeah. And I mean, it did help. It got people to stop at our table. People would run over from different areas and say, hey, I saw this kid with the balloon. Can you give it to my kid? Can my kid have one? And even in Artist Alley, some of the names that were there that, have been around longer than we have and have a good following, they were, I was talking to one of them, and they were like, "Oh, thank you so much for the balloons. My daughter loves it." And like, now we're like friends on Facebook and chat and stuff too. And I'm like, man, see, that's a good connection just because of a stupid balloon, So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it might cost you a few extra dollars up front, but in the long run, you never know. You just never know. And that's how we ended up getting into the mask industry. I was working at a comic book store when they were younger, and this guy came up to the window, and it was 97, I think it was. One of the guys we freelanced for, Mario Kyoto, loves telling this story. Lucasfilms was on the verge of selling off everything in the early 90s. Everything. That's why there was never 4 at the time. And so they brought him in, and they're like, we want to do props and collector items. And he says, okay, well, let's go ahead and start with the Yoda. And they wanted to know how many you're going to do. And I've got the original one up here. I think they did like 1,900 pieces. And everybody at Lucasfilm laughed at Mario. Like, nobody's going to buy it. And how much are you going to sell it for? I think the original one sold for $250 back in '95, and Sharper Image bought 80% of them.
Wow.
And I think it was, from what Mario told me, it was the most lucrative collector's piece ever issued by Lucasfilms. It was through Elusive Concepts, and they sold every piece, and they made over $3 million. And it saved Lucasfilms.
That's wild.
So we had a couple of pieces in the window at the comic shop, and this guy came up, and I was talking to a customer about it, and he says, "Oh, you guys talking about the Elusive Concept pieces? Oh, by the way, that's me as the model." I was actually wearing that.
That's great.
He says, I was one of the ones who sculpted this. And I said, oh, no kidding. And he says, yes, we talked a little bit. And he came in a couple of days later and bought a couple of old Famous Monster magazines that were, oh my God, sitting on the shelf for probably a year and a half. And since that time forward, he got a hold of me and said he needed an apprentice. And Daddy ended up his mold maker, painter, and assistant sculptor for Chuck and for Mario. So you never know who you're going to talk to or have the opportunity to meet. So just handing out the balloons and meeting with other people and other artists, you never know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. That I'm glad you brought up the masks. I saw that earlier today and I wanted to bring it up on the show. These are freaking cool. I might even, I don't know. I was gonna say I might buy this for my son, but he would terrorize my daughter with this thing. But so you guys, do you guys make these from scratch now? Like, is that part of what you guys do, or how do you go about this? This is awesome.
So we did a couple pieces of like the concept art, and then Chuck does all the sculpting in water clay. And then when I was working as his mold maker, I would if it was going to be like a latex mask and he had to send it off to China or Mexico for mass production, we had to make a mother mold out of it. So we had to cover it in plaster and then pour it up in latex.
Wow.
And that's basically how we would get the mother mold for that. And then if it was anything made in plastic resin, which is what he's doing now, his collector busts and stuff, the sculpture gets covered in silicone and then it gets plaster over it. But a lot of the latex masks are actually mass produced in either I think China, Mexico now.
Yeah, Mexico.
And then he does all his collector busts made to order. So he does that in plastic resin and hand paints each one.
That's wild. Yeah, I can't even imagine getting into like this. Would be so fun. I would imagine to get into. That's so super cool. Have you guys ever met Tom Savini at any cons or anything? Or
no. We've had a few people come up to our booth. The King Jerry Lawler came by. We talked. Like, have you ever met Tom Savini? Yes, that's the same thing. We're like, no, he's a good friend of mine. Tom Savini, great guy. Sergio Aragonés came by, started taking pictures. And we've had a few people, but nobody really in this field.
Not in this field.
No, not in horror.
Actors and stuff, but not.
Yeah.
Not in
Bill Moseley. We've had Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The Caribbean.
Yeah.
Are you bringing these masks to the con with you guys too? You bring a series of these with you guys?
Yeah, that's one of the I guess niches or like angles or stuff that we get to kind of hook people in, because most people at comic conventions don't have stuff like this.
No, not at all.
It's a good attention grabber, and because unlike Western Gaslight Graves and Demon Seed, it's a cross promotion too with the comics. So we can always with the art, so we can either sell out the mask or sell some artwork. So it's a good way to bring people over.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. No, that's a nice weapon to have at your disposal there. That's super cool.
I was going to go as the original Crypt Keeper for Halloween, but I might have to change my my idea now. Seeing those masks, I might have to change it up a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a sucker for a good zombie mask too. Like those looked incredible. I kind of want to do it to scare my son just because he's so mean to my daughter. My wife would kill me. Yeah, if I just snuck up on him, or her for that matter. But yeah, we're my son is the reason that I started writing Yule. Initially was he likes Halloween more than he likes Christmas, which was right up my alley. I mean, he loves both days, but I asked him if Christmas was his favorite holiday, and he said Halloween was because it was scary. So that it just like clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, I want to like write a story that is themed around Christmas, but it's family friendly horror, something that my kid can read. So that's where the whole concept started, and then we've expanded it out quite a bit from there. But he has all the animatronics around the house, like on the other side of this laptop. It's just like I'm looking at a pirate skeleton staring back at me. Like outside right now, it's all his animatronics that he leaves out there for the neighborhood drives by, but every day he's out there moving them around. And I'm like, Will, you need to leave them in one spot, buddy. Like get your layout. And my mother-in-law is like, oh, he's gonna like work for one of those haunted house attractions someday. And I'm like, that's not like, can he own a company that does that? And not like you're saying, like this is an aspiring job where he's gonna be working at like Spooky World, it's like a career. He's obsessed. He loves it. So you guys, I mean, obviously, Richard, you were a huge EC fan growing up. Are there any other inspirations on either one of you guys beyond that? I mean, movies.
Yeah, it's for me. In fact, my wife won't let me pick movies to watch anymore. All I do is I pick horror, and now we've got Tubi. We downloaded the Tubi. They've got a lot of great horror on there. In fact, they have a lot of Lucio Fulci and Dario Argento and Mario Bava stuff, the Italian horror stuff. But for me, any of the horror stuff from Universal, the Italian stuff, the Hammer.
Those radio.
The new thing now is on YouTube. They have the old radio serials going back as far as 40s, and you have all the old horror stuff on there.
No kidding.
That's been great. And I got a couple of little short stories off of that simply because either the title or something that was said. In fact, I was listening to one the other night. It was a weird little. It sounded like Vincent Price, but I don't think it was Vincent Price. It was this ticking noise, like a clock, tick, 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 and the guy was talking and explaining what he was doing in conjunction with the ticking of the clock. And I thought that was.
Oh, I remember that one. The ticking was annoying.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's just stuff like that. I can put on the X-Files and someone would say something. Oh, you know what? If I branch off of that, that's. And of course, I had that one weird dream with. What was it? The emus.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I started doing a story. I had this weird, and I thought, hey, this is going to be funny, and I haven't gotten to do it yet. I think but yeah, most of the time.
That was years ago.
Yeah, I've got it written.
That was like.
But hey, it's still sticking with him. That's a sign. If it's still sticking with him, the dream stories are the best if they work. If you can like I have a whole series written down, at least a rough outline of it, that came from a dream that was freaking weird. That involved dinosaurs. Just so you know.
You were very excited about that. At like 7:13 in the morning, he's blowing my phone about this dinosaur dream story.
Yeah, I'm like, what kind of 36-year-old dreams about dinosaurs? But I like this whole story just popped in my head after this weird dream I had, and I woke up at like 2 a.m. and like grabbed my phone and like wrote the whole outline. Like, I'm pretty sure my wife's caught me doing that before. I'm just like, what are you doing? It's 2 a.m. Why are you on your phone? Like, oh, just. Trust me, I need to do this. Because if you say, "Oh, I remember it in the morning," you typically don't. You remember like bits and pieces of it.
It's not as good. It's not as good. It's like it seems great at the moment.
Oh, sure.
Like, that was a really dumb story.
Yeah. No, that's happened plenty too. That's definitely happened where you're like, oh, that could be cool. Like and I've thought of it the next day, and I'm like, no, that's not cool at all. That's terrible. Yeah, but so yeah, obviously, I was gonna say that story stuck with you, so it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Did you go into from EC Comics, Rich? Did you go into like the Ray Bradbury Theater and those types of programs too? Because he was doing a lot of writing for them back then.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure.
Well, yeah. I want to say they did the first story without Ray Bradbury, his approval, and it got out. They talked to him, and he gave him approval for all the other stories. But yeah, they did some great stuff with his writing. Absolutely.
That was an awesome series. I used to be on USA Network. I think it was like Friday nights at like 1:30 a.m. I'm going back in my memory. I used to stay up late as a kid trying to watch it. But now they're all on YouTube, so you can catch all the old Ray Bradbury theaters, and they did an excellent job with that show even for back then. It'd be cool to see a remake, but it'd be hard. I guess they could do the same narration with them and things. Maybe bring some of those other stories up. Things would be kind of cool to see and bring it back around.
Yeah, probably just a matter of time. I mean, they keep rebooting and redoing everything.
Yeah, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, like all that stuff. Why not, right?
Yeah. But here's a scary one. I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie London After Midnight with Lon Chaney, the lost movie that last one was destroyed, I think, in the 60s in a fire.
Huh.
And it was the preeminent vampire movie before Dracula came out. And in 17 months becomes public domain. And I can't imagine who's going to snatch that up, zombie, and screw it up. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or Tim Burton.
Or Tim Burton, yeah.
Either one of those people who shouldn't be touching anything.
And it's some years ago, AMC actually got all of the stills that they could from the movie, and they put it together as kind of a slideshow with music background, and it was phenomenal. But
that's awesome.
Hopefully somebody out there, it's one of those multitude of lost movies that it was either destroyed, filmed over, or caught fire and burned up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Right. Yeah.
I always said they should remake crappy movies instead of remaking good movies, because they usually take a good movie and make it crappy. It's like, why do you guys go the other way? Redo this thing. Try again. Yeah.
Well, because most of these remakes, they strip away the whole heart of the movie, and it's just I don't know, like with the new Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, like it's like, man, you guys didn't even get Freddy right. Like you need Freddy right if you're gonna make a Freddy movie. You CGI his face. It's like, what? But yeah, I mean, that's like, we had Marcus Roberts on from Second Sight. He was on our last show, and he's a huge old school horror fan. He was talking about Phantasm is one of his favorite horror movies, and the Tall Man was like one of his favorite ever villains. I had never seen the movie. I watched it last week with my wife, and I'm like, how have they not remade this yet? Like, of all the crap they've remade, like this movie, for a movie that was made, I think in '79, like those effects were pretty solid for back then. Like that whole that sphere fly, like that must have been, at the time, I bet that was considered like amazing, those effects. And I'm like, man, this actually could use a solid remake if they didn't butcher the whole idea of it. But I was cracking up. Like, I don't know if I was supposed to at some parts. I mean, some of the stuff didn't hold up, but it was a good, the whole idea of that movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Joel, but the whole idea of it's a whole series, I guess. He's like, Marcus, I messaged him after. He's like, you got to watch part 2 now. It picks up right after the first movie. I'm like, oh boy. But it's just such a unique story. There's nothing really else like it. So I am shocked that they haven't done something with that. I'll probably look it up online after we get off the show and read about it in production or something. But
some weird rights or something, right? Maybe the rights are held up in probate of some estate for some family or some nonsense like that. Something stupid that deprives the world of the opportunity to enjoy a remake.
Yeah, maybe.
Litigation's going on about it. I don't know. Some craziness.
The director, Don Coscarelli, also did Bubba Hotep. I don't know if you ever saw that.
My God.
He did. I didn't even realize that was the same director. No kidding.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then he also did John Dies at the End.
Okay, I read the book of that. I actually never watched the movie. I should check it out. I like the book. It was
actually really
kind of wild.
Yeah, the movie was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
The worst horror movie ever is Oasis of the Zombies. If you want to go out there. Yeah, something weird video put that out. It's literally like an hour and a half of like a zombie walking in a desert with no plot. It's literally that for 90 minutes. Yeah.
I got one for you.
Oh my God.
Edward Wood Jr. Plan 9 from Outer Space. Ed Wood.
Right. Yeah.
Did a movie with Criswell called Orgy of the Dead. And it is a guy in a cemetery at night, and the zombies from different countries come out. They dance naked, and they go away. And it's like 87 minutes of that. And then the sun comes up, and the guy walks out of the cemetery. It's the dumbest thing.
Man,
it's like if the UN turned into zombies or something. Is that?
It's exactly what. That's exactly what it was.
I'm just displaying the
yeah.
Oh man,
I thought,
what would someone from China look like? What would somebody from?
Yeah. So I bought the DVD and I couldn't give it away. Nobody wanted it. So I mailed it to a buddy of mine. I'm like, hey, you can have this.
It's gonna get passed around as like the friend joke gift for years. Yeah. Like it's gonna open it up on Christmas and be like, oh.
Oasis of the Zombies was so bad. It was such a bad movie. My buddy used to come over on Friday nights, and we'd work all day. And then he'd come over and watch these shit movies like that. And usually it was put out by Something Weird Video. It was the company's putting this out, but we just get a couple pizzas and some Mickey's malt liquor hand grenade beer, right? The little bottles, and right, horrible. This is the worst thing ever. And it was such a bad movie. I drank that, and I drank a bunch of those. I ended up passing out, and then I woke up about an hour into the movie, and I thought that he had restarted the movie because it was still the same scene.
Same thing.
That's how bad it was.
I mean, think about that. But that's realistic, right? Like if you think about a zombie walking across the desert, I mean that's gonna take a while. Like it's just gonna be the zombie coming
like a World War Z zombie. It could have been that guy. Like just get you there, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's painful. If they want to redo one, redo Oasis of the Zombies.
Oh man,
I gotta look for that.
Yeah, I don't think I want to watch that.
Yeah, you could probably just fast forward it; it'd be fine.
Just watch him walk real fast, like Benny Hill.
Yeah.
I think knowing like the Gen Z humor, I think that movie, if it was remade, would actually do really well. If they just kept it as like 80 minutes of just a zombie walking through the desert, Gen Z kids would lose their minds. They would
it'd probably win like the Sundance Film Festival or something, right?
Oh, jeez.
It'd be artistic.
So meaningful.
Yeah.
The power behind the story, right? And it's like, what?
It's the subtle nuances of the zombie's footsteps in the sand as it goes through. Like,
Oh my God.
Poignant.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, maybe they will make it. You never know.
You go here first.
Sometimes, I mean, honestly, sometimes the terrible movies are a blast to watch if you go into it knowing that they're terrible. Like Lamageddon, I'm sure I would crack up watching that movie.
That's a great movie.
But
I like that they made fun of themselves. They knew it wasn't serious. Like there's one guy in the movie, and every cut scene he's wearing a different T-shirt. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. Stuff like that. I love it. Like they knew that like just the continuity it probably fell apart accidentally, and they're like, let's just run with it.
Oh yeah, like the first time I've heard of that in movies before. Like it was an accident in Michigan, and they're like, all right, now that's a thing. Like so now we got to do that. So that's well, I mean, the movie's about a llama from outer space that has laser vision, like it can blast stuff with laser eyes. Yeah. Oh, it lays eggs. Okay.
Lays eggs.
And it shows up at this party of these kids smoking and drinking, and just basically it's a slasher flick with a llama.
Yeah. Yep. And it spits on the guy. Spoiler alert. It spits on the guy and turns him into a llama too.
Oh, what? Oh, no.
We're going to have to watch it now. That sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it like burn through him like acid or something. I didn't know it was going to turn him into a llama.
Turns him into a llama by spinning on him. Why wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, it's October. That's the only time I'll probably get my wife to watch that. I'll say it's a horror movie, and then she'll go to bed 10 minutes into it. But
when they originally released it, this is awesome. They originally released it. They had like the $2.99 version, and then they charged like $1 million for a high def version on Amazon Prime. As part of the joke.
This is a joke.
Yeah. Just to say that they did that. So they said, "We want to charge for your movie." It's like, well, obviously, it's worth $1 million.
I wonder if there was just some rich trust fund kid out there that just was like threw a party and just did the high def.
It was a helicopter scene, so they obviously had helicopter money to rent a helicopter. That's all I have to say.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I wouldn't say that. So in my my film class in high school, my film teacher had a pilot license, so we wanted some aerial shots for a terrible slasher movie we made out in the woods, and he took his little plane and flew it over he got us like the top down scene of the woods and looked all high tech, professional, and then it cut to our terrible acting. So but so maybe they just had a connection.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, Llamageddon. There you go. Check it out.
I got to stop bringing that up on every show because
it's our thing. It's our thing.
Way too much. All of our guests are gonna go watch it and be like, "What the hell is wrong with these guys?"
No, it's totally fitting. Yeah. It's totally fitting. People get it.
It's more like, yep, that sounds about on par for those guys. Yeah. Like
About what I thought I was walking into when I did this. I signed up for this. Yeah.
Oh,
that's awesome. Yeah.
So what else do you got? So obviously you got the masks, you got the comic books out there. Anything else you want me to show on the website here for you, or? You got a lot of stuff on there, I see, but
yeah. I got a lot of most of the commission art we've been turning into prints and posters. We're getting away from that, so there's still a few up there. The Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, those were all commissions originally, and then they were turned into prints or posters, and Betty just added the color. I think there's only a couple of pieces that I added any color to, because it's bad enough trying to ink my work, and I got to go back and color it too. No, I'll just scan it and give it to Batty.
There's the Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas is what got my son into scary stuff. So that's. I actually did a pencil drawing of Jack Skellington for him. It's on his wall, and I give that movie all the credit for getting him into it. With me, when I was a kid, it was Goosebumps, reading Goosebumps books, and then Stephen King, and that, and my parents didn't filter what I watched, which probably not the best idea. I watched, right. I watched Nightmare on Elm Street when I was in first grade, and I had nightmares about Freddy, but at the same time, I was obsessed. So I loved horror from a very early age. But yeah, that's cool. So
I originally did the commission, and that was, I started doing these undertakings for the commissions, and 2 days into it, I'm like, what was I thinking? But this one here, they used to have it at California Adventureland. They had these big 12 by 18 Disney Academy papers, and they would give it out to the kids to draw on and everything. Well, they were stopping it. We have a buddy down there in Southern California who picked up about 50 sheets and sent them to me. So this was actually done on the original Disney Academy paper.
Wow, that's really cool.
But it was crazy trying to ship it because it was such a weird shape and size.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
the shipping box alone was bucks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We haven't touched the paper
Yeah.
since.
Oh,
It's
man.
really nice, but it's like, God damn, what do we put on it?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
A couple there, like Luke Skywalker, the Rogue.
Yeah, I like that.
And those were drawn by Terry Shoemaker, who worked on, I think it was X Factor,
Mhm.
Iron Man. He was getting back into doing some drawing, and then asked Patty if she wouldn't mind doing the colors. Yeah, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, and Luke.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
It's got 70s color look to it. You did a great job nailing that. It's got like that
Oh, thank
washed.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks period correct. You know. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, those took a lot long. I don't really color anyone else's stuff besides mine or his. So it took me a long time to actually get used to somebody else's like line art and inking. I'm like, how the hell do I do this? So each one took me like a couple days to get down. Especially the Star Wars one.
When you learned coloring, I mean, did you just self-taught, or how did you guys go about doing that? Because that's, you know, it's not easy, coloring. I've tried, so all the power to you guys that can do this. But
mostly self-taught. I started using Photoshop Elements in high school, and I'm 32 now. So, yeah, I went to my first time in college. I went to the Fashion Institute, and they taught me a little bit of Photoshop and some Illustrator. Retained very little from what I learned from them, and then ever since then, it's been basically just self-taught, trial and error. Now I watch a lot of speed painting on YouTube, or if I really need a technique, help with a technique, I'll go to YouTube and look it up, because there's always something on YouTube that somebody
for everything.
Yeah, like how to make your own brush. I learned how to make freckles, just all that little stuff that I'm like, I'm not hand drawing freckles. So
you zoom in. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, there really is a YouTube video for everything. My wife has a German car, and I remember when I had to change her brake light, and like I had done it on my car before. I'm like, I got this. This is when we were first dating too, so I was trying to be like this cool guy. And I went to, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's like everything's just like, German cars are like, they make everything a pain in the ass just because they can, I think. So
well, it's their design. It's infallible, sir. It's never gonna break.
Yeah,
so
right. So I'm like, YouTube. Yeah. So I figured it out from YouTube. Fixing stuff. It's all on there. Like, people from before our generations are probably, hate us for it, because we can basically learn anything we want, at this point. So
I think it's advancing art so rapidly. All that transmission of data. Like, I was a drummer in a metal band back in the 90s, man. You see like what these 12-year-old kids can do now because of all these YouTube videos, like how to, move their feet, and they're doing these blast beats and crazy stuff that I could never ever do after playing even for 15 years. These kids are just pulling this stuff off, and they can just build upon all that stuff now. It's crazy. So everything, music, art, like everything, just an amalgamation of everything. It's building and building and building. It's awesome. It's incredible system.
Yeah.
I zoomed in on this one because I love it.
It's great.
I always loved Star Wars, but I was never like a diehard Star Wars fan. Like, my best friend, he was obsessed with Star Wars. When the new 3 movies came out back in, I don't even know at this point, was it early 2000s, late 90s? He saw them all like 10 times in theaters. But I saw them all once, but Mandalorian, man, like, that show has got me hooked on Star Wars again. So this is super cool.
Yeah, this was a rough layout. I had to, again, pull up references, and it took me, oh my gosh, probably 3 days of moving them around, because Sabine from Star Wars Rebels, she's the shortest one, so I had to get a decent flow going, and it was, you know, and then you don't want to cover up too much because you want to be able to look at it and go, oh yeah, sure, that's Boba Fett, there's Jango, there's Mandalorian, and it was, you know, the armorer. I had to put the armorer in front, just because she has the armoring thing, the hammer.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. But yeah, getting the flow was a pain on that one.
Oh man,
that can be a real problem sometimes, even in sequential, right? It's just the panel. There's one panel, man. It takes you a whole day just to freaking get your mind into, like, to your point, how you're gonna frame this thing to get all this stuff in you need to get in. Like, oh shit, I'm covering that, and it needs to be seen. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if you don't have a good flow, you just have a stagnant image, or the direction leads your eyes off the paper, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, we can spend a day or day and a half, 2 days on one panel, man. And you think about it, somebody reads that and it's 5 seconds on the next panel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Goes.
It's a lot of growing pains too, right? Like our first book was Yule 1, and we learned a lot of lessons, you know, that we won't do again. You know, it's like Joel spent a lot of time detailing, you know, pretty much every panel, and then, you know, I send him the text afterwards, and it's like, oh crap, like where are we gonna put the text bubbles, you know? Oh, yeah.
You had mentioned earlier about thinking about learning how to do the text for the comic to help Joel out. I can't explain how important that is. I hate doing the text on comics, because it's still the same thing to this day, where it's like I got my panel laid out, I have all the artwork done, and I'm like, oh, the word bubbles or the dialogue, and it's like, crap, because now I have to move everything around. And now that everything's digital, it's a lot easier. But then it's like, what type of word bubble do you need? How large a font do you need? What kind of font? And it's a pain in the ass. So actually having specific training in that and learning how to do it correctly is so important. I just don't feel like taking the time to do. So I actually, I had an issue. It was more of a layout issue with our printer, but it's still like the same mistakes I'm making like 10 years later. So it's really important to get that text down, and at least to actually rough in the bubble first.
That's what I don't know
how professionals do it.
Yeah, I was doing that with the script now, is leaving that room. So when I'm doing like my rough draft or my thumbnails, I'm actually putting in a physical balloon, just say, okay, you don't have to put anything here. And one thing that, you know, I haven't done it on Yule 2, but I thought about actually doing get your pencils in and then do the lettering and then work, because with digital, you know, to your point, then you can ink up to that, right, as an underlayer. So it's not as much of an issue. So you haven't done this whole entire thing with all this inking and all this coloring, wasting all your time on every single panel, because you know that this much you don't have to worry about. So I thought about doing it in that order, go like pencil, lettering, inking, coloring, instead of going lettering at the end, just to save time. And see how that process worked out too. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, just drop it in. We were talking with Ian Chase Nichols. He's doing the Tick and did some Ninja Turtle work and things about actually making lettering more interactive with the actual scene that's happening versus being on top of the image. Actually put the lettering inside of the image and make it part of that, and doing more of that, because I like that. We saw some of that with like Joe Bennett's work on Immortal Hulk. He was doing some of that with like letter play and things. And as a reader and, you know, lover of the art, I find that to be more engaging than just putting it over things, you know, to make it actually interactive with what's going on. I think that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an artistic style. It should be part of the art.
Yeah.
I agree. I actually got the idea from layouts and a couple of books, kind of behind the scenes thing with EC Comics. Gaines would actually write all the script, write out all the text and everything, and then give it to the artists. So now what I do is I put in all the dialogue, I put in the word bubbles, put in the panels, and then I start drawing. And that's made it a lot easier for Batty because I don't have to hear where are we gonna put the word bubbles. You know, exactly what you guys were saying, because I would fill the panel or the cover with artwork and everything, and then it would all go away. You couldn't see anything. Or the panels were, you know, vertical. I mean, the word bubbles were vertical and they weren't horizontal. And it just, it was a mess.
We had a lot of issues with Goldilocks when it came to the word bubbles. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because we actually both were doing the artwork for that. And we don't really communicate too much on how the panel is going to go most of the time because I'm busy with my thing, and he normally goes at the page first. And he's like, okay, this is what I have. This is where your section's going to be. Okay, great. It's a full panel. Where's the font going to go? So there are word bubbles in there where it's like the font is like an 8 or a 6 because it's like this dictionary of dialogue, and I have nowhere to put it, and it's terrible.
Jeff was very wordy.
Yeah,
very wordy.
Yeah.
John, what was that
the whole run?
What was that book, John, you were showing us? John had a book that he was showing us this week where like they had basically all of the dialogue and the narration was down like the left spine of the page. So there was nothing in like the images. It was really interesting. Like they had the panels, but nothing over the panel. They just basically took a sliver down the left side of each page.
And
described everything that was happening.
Shoot.
It really did. Yeah.
I don't know where it was. Usually when you ask me that, I have it right by my side.
I'm like,
here it is.
Boom, here's this thing.
What book was that? Yeah, I mean, well, I know Immortal Hulk 49 did that, but there was no text. There was no text bubbles. It was all on the side, and I wasn't necessarily a fan of that. Like it was literally like black banners going down the side of each page, and it was just art in the middle. And I'm like, I don't know if I dig that necessarily, but what I sent you guys, and I can't remember what book it is now off the top of my head, was kind of a cool mix of it all. Because I feel like I've seen that a little bit more lately, where it's almost like writing in prose, like on the side of the comic book, like it's like almost novel form, you know, telling a bit of a story, and then having like the dialogue still come from the character's mouth, you know, with a text bubble, which is kind of cool. But I don't know. It's cool to see people mess around with that and just try to change some stuff up and try something different. That's how McFarlane got where he is, right? Like he was like, you know, Marvel's not going to let him do it. All right, I'll go do it on my own. And now look at him. So, but.
Pick things up, or it just becomes humdrum.
Yeah. Well, I think
we're here talking about it, right? That's the point, right? So
exactly. Well, I watched that documentary. I think you sent me it, Joel, with Todd McFarlane. I think it was originally on Sci-Fi Network, I think a handful of years ago, and he was saying how he was trying to draw Spider-Man, like, you know, slinging the web towards the page and like going off, you know, the page or whatever, or out of the panel, coming out of the panel, like going over the panel line. And Marvel was like, no, like you can't do that. And he's like, well, why? Like, why can't I do that? Like that's different. It's unique. It's never been done, you know. And now you see it everywhere. You know, figures going over the side of the panel, and it just adds so much to it. So, but. Yeah, that was an awesome documentary, by the way. I loved it. That's a dream guest there, a bucket list guest, getting Todd on the show at some point. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're in an hour and a half. We usually ask people up front, what sort of time you have, and we didn't do that there. So probably a good check in there. I don't know how you guys are doing, but if there's anything you want to pitch beyond what we've already talked through, or whatnot.
Well, we do our 2 shows coming up. Our 4th annual Halloween live show will be 1 week from tomorrow, and on the 23rd. And that's basically, we just sell artwork, masks. We're going to have a big blowout sale. We got to make room. And of course, on the 28th, we have the big release party on Facebook. And that's when we talk a lot about the comic, issue 4. We show all the perks that we have, the glow in the dark buttons, all the stickers, the artwork, everything. We sometimes do trivia for Halloween and horror movies and stuff like that. We've done, after 3 or 4 years, we don't know what we're going to do for the trivia. We've done candy, we've done traditions, horror movies, costumes.
Yeah, we've done all sorts of stuff, and it's like, well, what else is there to talk about? So I don't know if we're going to do trivia this time.
Everybody knows the answers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to think of any ideas off the top of my head, but I got nothing.
Yeah. I think with Halloween we come up with something, but
yeah. Well, Joel's the brain of I don't want to say useless facts, because that's that sounds like it's downgrading, you know. But
really well on Jeopardy, like nothing like practical, just random nonsense, like yeah, things that nobody needs to know that for some reason occupy space in my head that don't benefit me in any way other than sounding cool in a conversation.
Like when I was writing the script for Yule 1, I'm like, it's like this plot hole. We got to get from here to here, like, and I don't know. And he just randomly rattled off like within seconds. So it wasn't like he had time to like research it. Like within seconds, he responds to my text with like this like you know folklore of.
Put it on Perry Reese's ship coming out of the Arctic.
Yeah.
Who's Perry Reese?
Like Icelandic folklore stuff, and I'm like, you didn't look that up. You just knew that. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, good for you, man. Like, I don't,
good for you, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But.
Yep. Wild. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you guys came on. You know, obviously, it's cool when you have someone on that you've chatted with a bunch, and you know, we had your book on our table, and so it's cool to have you guys on and chat with you. So,
we appreciate the support and having you guys ask us on. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. And we actually have some kind of cool news. Is there's a local comic shop that's supposed to be opening here in my Know Nothing town, and I'm going to try to get your book into their shop as part of like an indie rack with some other titles and things. So I'll let you know if that happens. That'd be cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool.
You're welcome. Happy to help with that. So yeah, we'd like to give back and try to help indie creators like that as well as part of what we're doing. So it's kind of a passion of ours to spread the love out across the New England area. So we gotta enlighten the people out here and let them know that there's a world beyond Marvel, DC, Image, right? So
yeah. A lot of originality out there.
Yep. Yep. There's big things happening in the indie world for sure. I mean, this people are missing out if they're not paying attention. I mean, that's a huge thing. So
definitely
enough about that for sure. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Well, we definitely appreciate your time tonight. And like I said, if you guys ever want to come back, you know, hit us up. If you got something you guys need to share or let known to the world, let us know, and we'll tweet it out or put it on Facebook and send it through our avenues for you and help you out any way we can.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Thank you very much. That's killer. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back Wednesday night. We have Richard Chismar is coming on, horror author, so that'll be a good time. So we're looking forward to that. Hope everyone else has a continued awesome Friday night. Go Red Sox. Gonna throw that in there. And hope everyone continues to stay livid.